Last week, our guides reported about stripers in freshwater and bull redfish on the jetty. Let's see if that's still the case this week. Has the Gulf greened up the bays, and is the hot weather hurting the bass fishing? We've got all the answers here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back, Texans, to another week on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We hope everyone had a patriotic, fun-filled 4th of July weekend on the water. I know we did. But Rick, we have another round of reports this week that is keeping that summertime feeling going.
You're absolutely right, Brie. And I'm really excited about some of the reports that I've read. And I think you guys are going to see a lot of cool things are happening in Texas.
Exactly. All right, but before we get to our first captain, let's see how Dave is doing over at the workbench. Dave, I'm liking that hat you got on today.
Man, I'm a fashion, I don't know.
DIYer.
Fashionista.
Is that what it is?
It's a
fashionista.
DIYer.
I couldn't even say it.
That was a DIY hat.
Yeah, we're going to talk about chatterbaits tonight.
All right.
Chatterbaits.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Okay, let's head into the Fish Bites Upper Coast region with Captain Carl Weston, where options are endless when it comes to the species list for the weekend. Talk to us, Carl.
All right, guys. Let's start off chasing flounder for this week over in Trinity Bay. The water temp right now is 83 to 85 degrees, and your largest concentration of flounder around the rock piles, it seems. The best live bait option is still finger mullet and mud minnows. Now, bumping down to East Galveston Bay, temps coming in at 84 to 86 degrees. Down there, the flounder bite is still very good along the rocks and around Seawolf Park. West Galveston Bay is fair, drifting finger mullets along the oyster reefs. And down at Texas City, the dike is always a good option along the rocks with live bait or a white bass and shrimp on an 1/8 ounce jig head. I would bounce this along the wrecks and the pile pier lines if you have time. I would suggest working inside the jetties. There's good fishing there all year. And we have a picture of a nice flatty with Shane here today.
Nice. All right, what else you got, Carl?
Little mixed bag. Moving up to Sabine Lake and down to Texas City this week, inshore fishing is going from good to great. Sabine has some stained water, but limits of trout are common, and the same is true for the reds. If you can find the green water, your chances will improve. Anglers have been catching Spanish mackerel and Jack Crevalle on finger mullet or shrimp, live or dead, and even the catfish bite is staying steady on cut bait. Sheepsetters still munching on small mud minnows around the jetties and the rocks, along the jetties and the bridge pylons. They're catching black drum. They're hitting on blue crabs on the flats around vegetation. Almost any natural bait is doing well right now. The top water at the clearest gives you the best chance to secure some of these fish. They throw a mirror lure, Mirrodine, or a suspended twitch bait for your best bet. And we have a picture of some young fellas here with a mixed bag on the beach.
Nice. All right. What do you got for us offshore, Carl?
Let's talk about snapper season. We're ending our first month of snapper season, and it's been an amazing month. The only bad thing has been our weather. The only negative factor, we've been catching really large fish. The big snapper have been plentiful. When you land on a good spot, limiting out doesn't take you very long. Now, look, guys, if you're on a piece of bottom structure and you're catching smaller fish, do yourself a favor and just drift off that large school a little bit, and you usually find the bigger fish around the outside of that concentration. I've come to find out those fish don't like to hang with the smaller fish. I don't know if it's because they're competing over food, but if you will get off the main pile, you'll upsize and throw a bigger bait down. Sometimes these big fish are suspended halfway to the bottom. Look at your meter. It's always worth a few drifts, trying different water depths, and out away from the edge for the bigger fish. And picture me with a little snapper today.
Oh, man. All right, looking good. All right, what else you got for us? One more to go.
Jack Crevalle. Okay, guys, here's a fish that pound for pound may outfight anything in the Gulf. And these fish are not targeted by many anglers due to their poor table fare. The biggest fish can be found offshore around oil platforms, chasing bait around structure. These guys run into schools and are found in the top water column. I like to throw top water lures like a 5-inch sea shad on a 2-ounce jig head or a large white bucktail tipped with some squid or shrimp flavored fish bites. Use your pitch rod with 20 to 30 pound glass and a spinning reel. I load it with blue 40-pound diamond. For these fish, you hook a 20 to 30 pound jack, and you better be ready because this is a good fight on light tackle. And we have a picture today of our rod builder JT with a good old fish.
So, Carl, I know that you got a tournament coming up for Brie and Tosh. So, how the fishing? Are we looking good for the tournament? I mean, I'm thinking about Calcutta investment here. What do you got?
Good question, Rick.
Yes. The fishing is looking very good. You know, we're going to have to keep them secret spots to ourselves till after the day we fish. But, yes, sir, we're looking really good.
All right, well, the pressure's on, so better make sure you wear your big shoes because I'm sending my girl out there to handle the heavy lifting.
No pressure.
All right, it's time for us to take a look at the Mirror Lure Upper Coast hotspots. Carl says that, in short, the flounder along the rocks and the jetties on live finger mullet and mud minnows, and then offshore targeted large jack crevalles around the oil platforms, cast topwater baits, and large soft plastics.
Don't pressure us like that, Rick. We're going to do great. We don't need all that.
I know.
Okay?
I'm gonna give you the Murphy Mojo before you go.
Okay, that's good. All right, let's transition to the Upper Fresh region and hear what Johnny Geis says we'll be catching on Lake Tawakoni and Lake Fork. Tell us the good news, Johnny.
Hey, Brie and Rick. Hey, the old stripes over on Tawakoni just biting. Matt Cartwright reporting some outstanding hybrid striper and white bass action. The summertime fishing's usually always good on Tawakoni, but man, the action on this old reservoir, it's only about 16 miles from port. It's been awesome lately. Cartwright works out of Duck Cove Marina and makes daily Facebook posts of his customers' catches. Recently, the action's been so fast and furious that limits of hybrids and stripers and white bass, he's reaching for 8 a.m. The Texas limit on Tawakoni for hybrids and stripers is a 5-fish aggregate of either species, and the fish has to be over 18 inches in length. The white bass limit is much more liberal, about 25 per hanger with a 10-inch minimum length. Tawakoni has a prolific shad population, and the striped fish, man, they feed heavily on the threadfin and gizzard shad. The larger striper and hybrids, though, they prefer the big gizzard shad, and they'll also eat some pretty good-sized bluegills as well. Matt and his customers are catching fish now on a swim bait and slab. So the chartreuse paddle-tail swim baits are usually the best early, and when the fish are schooling on top. He's using a 3/4 ounce or sometimes a 1 ounce head. Make sure that your lure's rigged straight so the swim bait swims naturally. Doesn't need a curve in it. A fast retrieves when the fish are surfacing gets bit best, but as the fish go down, you can also slow roll the swim bait for more action. Topwaters also catch a schooling fish, but it just takes too long to get those treble hooks out and get back into action. So once the early morning feeding frenzy slows, a 1 ounce or heavier slab will continue to catch fish on or near the bottom. The stripers are, man, they're aggressive feeders, and they'll kill and cripple a lot of shad that sink to the bottom, and that's when this heavy slab works the best. Again, a chartreuse works best, sometimes silver, white, well on the slab colors. Most of the Tawakoni guides are using a splasher prop on the rear of the boat to call up the fish. Splasher is a small trolling motor mounted on the rear of the boat with a unique propeller. It's kind of cupped, makes a splashing sound like fish schooling. It's mounted just a few inches under the water. This splashing action, it simulates the schooling action and tracks or calls fish to your boat. Works great, and you can actually watch your electronics and see the fish appear once you turn on the splasher. So just how good is that fishing at Tawakoni right now? Matt Cartwright's customers boated 100 fish by 7:27 one morning this week, and the next day they got another 100, that's 4 hangers, by 8 o'clock the next day. He also shared a picture with a total catch picture from a 10-guide boat trip recently. Got a picture of that, and almost everyone caught a limit before noon. I'll bet this group will remember this fishing trip for a long time.
Well, I don't know about them, but I'm going to remember.
Hey, all the largemouth bass, as usual, I got to cover those on Lake Fork. Summertime patterns are producing good on Fork right now. Several techniques and lure selections are working at this time, but first, drop shot presentation. It's about the most consistent. Drop shot is where you tie that small hook up your line about 12 to 18 inches above your weight. Number 1 or 1/0 Eagle Claw trocar hook works great above a 3/16 or 1/4 ounce cylindrical weight. Use a 5-inch or 6-inch straight tail plastic worm in red bug, green pumpkin, or methylate colors. Really hot color right now. Work this rig on deep structure on brush piles for best success at this time. Another good presentation is a trusty old Carolina rig. Use a heavy weight tied to a swivel with 18 to 24-inch leader. Almost any kind of plastic works here, but a green pumpkin bass assassin type lure is hard to beat. This is a great technique on windy days, and it catches a lot of fish. Late mornings through late afternoons have been the best times lately for big bass here on Fork. Got a picture of a good guide buddy of mine, Brian Duplesheim. He got another 10.3 caught this week. About every day somebody pulls a 10-pounder out of Lake Fork.
Right.
Hey, nighttime fishing. It's that time of the year. The moon's got full now, and nighttime fishing on Fork usually improves around early July. Many anglers hit the lake right after sundown, sometimes fishing all the way through to daylight. Dark jigs and big worms work best, and the bass are usually caught a little bit shallower during the night. Guide Randy Oldfield is an avid nighttime guide here, and he's reported catches this week up to 40 bass a night lately. So when the heat gets too hot to handle, you might try night fishing. Lake Fork has hundreds of green lights all around some docks, and most all of them have bass feeding on them every night, so good places to try. I'm seeing more and more big bass starting to hang out around the crappie brush piles. I also keep a Carolina rig handy to catch bass around these crappie holes. Here's a happy young customer and his dad got a double with his new personal best he caught last week. We watched both of these bass bite right under the boat on my Garmin live scope. Pretty exciting. Okay, the weather's hot in North Texas, but so's the fishing, so stay hydrated and go catch some big ones this weekend. Come go fishing, Rick.
Thank you so much. Great report, Johnny. We're going to go ahead and take a look at Johnny's hot spots from the upper fresh region. He says Lake Tawakoni, the white bass and hybrid stripers are excellent on swim baits and slabs. Watch for the diving birds to mark the feeding schools or to use your sonar to locate the feeding fish schools of bait near the drop-offs, flats, and humps in the main lake. And then the crappie are good on minnows and jigs around brush piles, docks, and marinas. And then he says Lake Fork, consistent crappie catches on jigs and minnows using a Garmin live scope. The bass are biting best on drop shot plastics. Red bug and green pumpkin colors work best. And then also football jigs and a 1/2 ounce shaky head catching large bass on deep structure. Whoa.
Whoa, those are some big bass.
It
coming
was.
out of Lake Fork.
And that was a big hot spot.
That was a big hot spot. You did good.
I saw that.
All right, stay hooked, my skilled anglers. Coming up, we're visiting the Alvey Reels Middle Coast region. But let's go to the workbench and see what angling skills our chatterbox Dave has for us.
That was like War and Peace. That was a long one. We're going to be talking about using these little chatterbaits to catch those big bass in Fork.
All right.
Big
Chatterbox
baits, big
or
bass.
chatterbait? Perfect. We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Garmin. Join the club. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Reliability. Yamaha is known for it. And it's something boaters value, because these days, few things are built to last. When we find something that is, we hold on to friendships, traditions, outboards. Because every second on the water is sacred. If you count on having this time, you need an outboard you can count on to power it. That's why boaters choose Yamaha for the long run, for life. Because reliability starts here.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore. Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
For the Bay and beyond, team up with the best and rule the bay in a Skeeter. Proven with 19 consecutive NMMA Consumer Satisfaction Awards. And right now, through June 20th, you can save with summer sizzling rebates of up to $2,500. Versatility, control, performance, and design. Visit your local Skeeter dealer or online at SkeeterBoats.com. Skeeter, it's more than a boat, it's a lifestyle.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? Or experienced the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board? Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sports Fishing has the ability to guide you to the fish of a lifetime. To book your trip today, call 305-246-0673 or go to murphyslawsportfishing.com. So we're here at the workbench, and I'm with my buddy Dave Farrell, the fashionista of the Texas Insider Fishing Report, and also in charge of the rigs and techniques. Dave, you know, one of the new things is chatterbaits, and guys are using a variety of different types of trailers.
Yeah, well, I want to first tell you, everybody, what some people might not know what a chatterbait is. Well, this is the original one. It's made by Z-Man, but they were the first guys to come out with one. There have been bladed baits before, but this was the first one that was called a chatterbait and everything. And you can actually buy these baits and these little blades individually and put them on stuff, from wholesale places now, and put them on any kind of jig you want. But this was the original one, and it's kind of like Band-Aid. They're called, all of them are called a chatterbait now. They did a really good job of marketing, and they catch fish. And what's really unique about it is that big blade in the front. That really gives the thing. It just vibrates like crazy. Once you hit a certain speed, it just buzzes, and that's how I was taught to use it. Actually, was you throw it out and you reel it until it starts to buzz, and then that's pretty much, you just left it right there. But there's really so much more to it than that. I mean, they make a great search bait because you really don't have to jerk it or do much with it if you don't want to, but it's such a versatile bait that you can do a whole lot of things with it. Now, you can fish it by itself plain, which I've done quite a bit, or you can add trailers to them. And
like this Bass Assassin Vapor Shad.
Like that Vapor Shad right there, which is, if you watch the fellas on TV and, catching all those big bass in the tournaments and whatnot, you can see what they're using. And a lot of the times you'll see them using that chatterbait with a Vapor Shad on it. And the reason they use that Vapor Shad is because when that blade is really kicking, this little tail just goes to town. It looks like a wounded bait fish. Even though it's swimming straight, the thing just goes to town. Even more so than a regular paddle tail, which is going to only go it's about the speed of what you pull it. But with that little Vapor Shad tail there, it really triggers the big bite.
They showed up on the redfish scene about somewhere around 2007, 2008, and they were really cool because it was a lot like a spoon, but you could actually reel it much slower.
Yeah, well, you've got the spoon action and the jig action with it. Plus you don't. A lot of times you don't even have to have the skirt on there. You can have just a jig with the trailer, and with the paddle tail like that, you can reel it slow, you can reel it fast, you can get up on the top. And just by raising and lowering your rod tip and varying your speed, you can cover tons of different kinds of water, and you can get in between, where you have the grass and the surface. You can work that area really good as well. And as far as colors go, in Texas, the watermelon red and green is going to work in the clear water. White always works. Dark purples, I'm always a big fan of purple and blue. Bass can see blue really well. It's a known fact that that's the last color that they can see. So, blue's always good. So,
Dave, I noticed that you have over here some spinner baits and a buzz bait frame. You want to talk about those?
Same way with the chatterbait. You can actually increase your silhouette on your buzz baits and your spinner baits with a nice piece of soft plastic, and these really work great. If you're wanting to get those 5 big bass bites a day, if you're wanting to catch great big fish, add a good trailer to your spinner baits or even your buzz bait. Put a big 5-inch buzz bait on there. You might not catch as many as the fella next to you, but the ones that you get are gonna be big fish. And I like to use great big spinner baits.
Big food creates big bites.
Yeah, and I can keep that thing out of the weeds really well because of the big blades on it, just like that chatterbait. You know, I get it up to speed and it's going to float in between the grass on the bottom and the surface. And, you know, I can flip those things over oyster beds and sandbars or wherever.
Cool color, Chico's red ear. I mean, I really like this color myself for the tannic water, you know.
Yeah, I like bright chartreuse. Always works well for me. White, again, because it looks like a bait fish, you know, anytime you use white. And these little bosses, they're really good on I like that little spinner bait and with the shiner or the little boss
shiner.
The elite shiner or the little boss on there with the paddle tail. That's one of my favorite things to throw as well.
All right.
Not pull.
All right, well, Brie, I'm sure that you have your favorite things to throw, so we'll have to talk about that sometime, but what do we got to go next?
Well, I'm going to throw it to the Alvey Reels Middle Coast region where the wind and tide gods seem to be on our side. Right, Captain Bink?
That's right. I also like those little bosses, Fast Assassin, too, man. I've used those about 3 or 4 years and really caught some good trout on them. I tell you, our lowest tides of the year are July, but we've kind of switched to a southeast wind lately, and it's kind of kept tides at a normal level. That's good news because there's more water in the bays. It gives us more real estate to fish. We've still been waiting on the surf to get right. June was a blowout. I mean, it's normally just one of our better fishing months. We still caught fish, but it wasn't easy. So hopefully July will calm and give us green tides to the beach. Our shrimpers tell us there's a lot of white shrimp on the beach, and that crop of shrimp have a large following the speckled trout. Last summer we saw some of the best surf action in over a decade. Those large trout were right on the beach. Those 4 to 6 count shrimp were right on the first gut. Those big jumbo shrimp and those trout were right behind them, and they're there right now. We're just waiting on it to get calm. West Matagorda Bay grass beds have been good. Normally it's stale this time of year, but the past 2 years it's just been money. It depended on the tide. Since we've still got water, it's been good. Guy Tommy Alexander, he caught trout to 6 pounds while drifting in East Bay. That switch to the southeast, it always lowers the barometer and greens the water and allows captains to fish prime water in about 5 foot of water. Those reefs in the middle of the bay have been wadeable at times. Places like Droll's Lump, Half Moon Reef, Long Reef, and Three Beacon. There's plenty of fish waiting there. We've been catching on she dog, Bass Assassin sea shad, the regular 5-inch shad, and the little toppers too, and then the Mirror Softines as well. Freeport, the trout have been best around the rocks and the channel on free-line shrimp. They same flounder and mangrove snappers have kind of been in that same locale as well. And in Port O'Connor, guy Lynn Smith said those back lakes are good on Bass Assassins around the flats, the Pasco Isle, and also in the south area, South Bass area. He's been throwing 5-inch Bass Assassins in the fried chicken and the magic grass. Best options for boat anglers lately have been working the edges of reefs on the San Antonio Bay on live shrimp. And Rockport guide Rhett Price, he said that outside grass beds, the trailer island continue to pay off on top waters and soft plastics. Then that jetty action in Port Aransas area has been good on live shrimp under a popping cork. There's a photo there. The next green tide will, it's going to cough off some big old speckled trout in the surf, but we'll stay in the bay until we get that chance. We'll go redfish. Guide Lynn Smith in Port O'Connor said those redfish are showing in the back lakes around Showwater Bay, the lagoon, and the maze of back lakes in Matagorda Island. Best baits have been those small Bass Assassin sea shad. And then around Matagorda, the redfish guys, they've been finding good boxes of reds. One here, one there. They're having to poke and peck around, but they're getting good boxes. They're throwing live shrimp and mullet. Like I said, July is usually a tough time to catch these reds because our water usually falls out about a foot and a half low, but it stayed up. So any day when that southwest wind starts blowing, we're going to lose our tides again. It's going to get a lot tougher. Around Freeport, the jetty's been best for reds. Carolina rig finger mullet and pogies have worked on the moving tide. Surf anglers, they found them those redfish in the first gut early in the morning. and right around the peak of sunrise. Offshore, red snapper has still been out of sight. Out of Freeport, kingfish and red snapper are good on the rigs, about 25 miles out. Most of those snapper have been in the 10 to 18 pound range. A lot of real big red snapper right now. Matagorda the same. Got Michael Quebeca, then Chance Stone on the Storm Shack and the Hailstorm boat. And they've been really doing well in about 50 foot of water, working wrecks with sardines and squid. And then the cobia, they've been on the weed lines. There's a lot of kingfish over the Gulf, a lot of amberjack as well. Our Gulf shrimp shrimping season opens July 15th, so a lot of those guys are going to be working right behind those shrimp boats as they start culling, picking up all kinds of stuff like kingfish and snapper, cobia, dolphin, everything on the weed lines out there. So July is hot. Water temperature is about 85 degrees right now, but a lot of that offshore action has been good. They just had to fight rough seas, and they're hoping, and we're hoping that it'll get a little calmer.
All right, thank you so much, Bink. Great report from the Alvey Middle Coast region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. He said the trout are good in Rockport around Trailer Island on Bass Assassins and Mirror Sheep Pups. Redfish are good in Port O'Connor jetties on fresh table shrimp in about 35 feet of water. 35 feet of water catching a big redfish. Woo, wow.
That'd be fun.
That'd be painful.
That'd be fun. All right, we're fishing the Star-Tron Middle Fresh and Garmin Lower Coast regions next here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. But before we go, we want to remind you to keep up with everything fishing in Texas. Visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube page, Captain Rick Murphy, where we upload new videos every week. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Alvey Reels, a better way to fish. And Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
Why is Casa Vieja Lodge on everyone's bucket list?
Left teaser, left flat as well, 2 fish. They're everywhere. Right flat teaser as well. Left flat, right flat teaser.
Come to Casa Vieja Lodge and check it off your list.
Finding a shoreline is easy. Finding a sure thing is not. For over 20 years, anglers from Kitty Hawk to California and every shore in between have come to know one thing: that nothing says no to fish bites. So just stop with the fishing and get busy with the catching. Ask for Fish Bites or Fish Bites Fight Club lures or visit fishbites.com.
Today's Powerful tip is about the new Charge Marine Power Station. After the Charge is installed in your boat, the key thing to do is to log into the Sea Monster app and let the Charge know what type of batteries you're working with. The Charge is designed to work with gel, lead acid, AGM, even lithium batteries, but the key is letting it know what you got in the boat. So for our trolling motor batteries in this Pathfinder, we've got 2 Odyssey trolling motor batteries. They're big, deep cycle batteries that last all day long. I want to go into the Sea Monster app and let it know exactly how much reserve capacity is in those batteries, and Charge is going to optimize and charge those to the fullest. But for our cranking battery, we've got a different chemistry. It's a lead acid. We will do the drop down and let the Charge know we're working with the lead acid battery on the cranking side, how much reserve capacity is in that, and the Charge is going to optimize a different battery type for your outboard. For more information, go to powerpull.com, and that's your tip of the week.
You know, Brie, if you have a 24 volt or a 36 volt trolling motor, doesn't matter what the brand is, if you're not running the Charge, guys, you're behind. Because to be able to have the ability to charge your trolling motor batteries throughout the day, as well as your starting motor battery, it's just amazing. It is amazing, game changer.
Just right there on your phone. Boop, boop.
Yep.
It's perfect. All right, the Startron Middle Fresh region has quite the lineup with Richland Chambers, Toledo Bend, and Sam Rayburn. So let's talk with Matt Loescher and get all the details. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Bree. Yeah, we've got a pretty good spread this week. I'm going to start out talking with the bass, or talking about the bass, rather. Mr. Thurman Selman up at Richland Chambers told me that he expects July to be a really good month for him up there. He said that the water clarity has really gotten good, and the temperature is hanging in the 80s, so it's peak perfect summertime stuff. He says that the bass are being caught around docks and then also around points and creek channels. So a great bait for fishing all 3 of those places this time of the year is that Bass Assassin Fat Job. You just can't beat it. You can rig it weightless to slowly sink down around those docks, or you can Carolina rig it for an offshore presentation that they just can't turn down. Now, down here on Toledo Bend, the offshore bite is still pretty good. It's about the same as it has been. It's been real consistent, but the depth varies really a lot. It's an offshore bite, but that means away from the bank, but not necessarily deep. So as we get into the hottest months of the summer, folks are really surprised to learn that many of the fish will set up in about 5 to 10 foot. And then others will be out there in that 15 to 25 foot. So the bite is basically the same regardless of the depth. It's just some set up shallow and some set up deep. It's all about the crankbaits and the worms right now. So you want to just select the crankbait that suits the depth you're fishing, and then likewise with the weight on your Texas rigged worm. I'm going to choose a crankbait that dives slightly deeper than the bottom depth I'm fishing so that it deflects off the bottom to get that reaction bite. And as for the worm, I like the Texas rig, a Bass Assassin 7.5-inch worm. It just makes them crazy with that little ribbon tail. I put it on an 1/8 ounce all the way up to about a 1/4 ounce weight with a 3/0 trocar hook, and I hop it pretty aggressively along the bottom most of the time. Green pumpkin and June bug are my go-tos right now. Green pumpkin when the sun's out, June bug when it's not, or if you're in the dirty water, the June bug gets the nod. Got a photo here for you of a father and son duo that fished with my fellow guide, Mr. Dusty Anders, this week. They told me that they caught a ton of bass. They had a really good day. We haven't been catching the size as much lately, but the numbers are really good. And then over on Sam Rayburn, not much has changed over there. I kind of feel like a broken record with this report, but the fish are just still chewing up shallow around the grass. And there are a few bigger ones being caught deep, but surprisingly, that deep bite just really hasn't developed the way we all thought it would over the past few weeks. So there's a few guys catching some good fish out there, some bigger fish in that deeper water, but most folks are still chunking frogs in that grass in the morning and then pitching into the grass or pitching up around cypress trees once the sun comes up. And with all the rain we're getting here in the Middle Fresh region lately, that shallow bite may hang around through the summer. I don't see it going anywhere, so consider that when you go to Rayburn. Now, talking about the crappie, they've gotten back to business with us on Toledo Bend this week. Last week they had kind of slowed down a little bit, but we've had some incredible days this week, and the size of the fish we're catching has been consistently great. They're still coming from 15 out to about 30 foot of water on minnows and jig, and the jig bite has actually picked up again. But I've had to slow it down and downsize it. So I'm only using a small lightweight jig head, just a 32nd ounce, and then I'm putting the small Panfish Assassin monkey milk jig on it. That slow fall with that smaller bait is just deadly right now. They're really eating it up. I've got another photo for you of some nice crappie that my little sister and brother caught with me this week. Abby and Keegan there with some nice slabs. A lot of fun getting them out there. They're getting pretty good at it, too. They might put me out of a job soon.
I don't think that's
we'll keep
going
it in
to
the
happen.
family,
But we just buy more boats. Just buy more boats,
They're
Bo.
loving that Garmin Live Scope. It's a blast.
All right, man.
And Mr. Thurman also mentioned that the crappie are getting settled into their summertime areas on Richland Chambers. He said they're hanging out around the timber and around the bridges and docks also, so kind of the same deal up there. And lastly, he also mentioned to me that the white bass and the hybrids are biting good on the flats, the humps, and some of the points up there. They're chasing shad, and most of them are being caught on shad, but he told me that spoons will also work. So if you'd like to get in on some of that with Mr. Thurman, give him a call at 972-345-9370. And he also does reel service. So if you need a reel fixed up, just give him a call.
All right, thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate it. Great report from the Startron Middle Coast region. He says we want to go bass fishing, are hanging around the grass docks and offshore structure. The crappie are offshore around the timber on the deep docks. And the white bass and hybrids are chasing shad offshore and biting spoons. You know, people have no idea what goes on behind all these cameras. Trying to keep from losing it. Laughing at some of the fellas in here.
And during the breaks too, those get fun. All right, the Garmin Lower Coast region is coming in hot inshore and offshore. So let's get our captain Chad Kinney on the line to give you your weekend report for trout, reds, red snapper, and wahoo. Let's hear it.
Yeah, we got it all. The inshore has been really good. Offshore stuff's changing a little bit here and picking up. So starting out with the inshore, bay fishing out of Port Mansfield, it's been still remaining excellent there for the trout. From the east cut kind of all the way up to the land cut there. The redfish are still kind of spotty, but they're starting to show up in signs up there in the flats, east flats and the west shorelines and stuff like that, that the tides are starting to drop out, which I think is going to really start pushing the fish into a new pattern, which will be good. I'll keep you posted on that. Trout fishing is good. Out of Mansfield here, head out to the east cut. You can work those edges of those guts right along the shorelines there. Like I said, the tide's flowing out. So that kind of funnels the bait and the fish through those guts, and it'll work really good on the outgoing tide, especially when it just starts moving. Also try the break along like the weather station, Dubs Island. Also the land cuts producing good fish along the drop-offs and the ICW and some of those oil channels and guts going back into the east and the west there. Live croaker free lines working really good on that stuff. And the soft plastics, I've been using that saltwater assassin sea shad, and pick whatever favorite color you like, but make sure I like a chartreuse tail on that. I've been throwing that magic grass for a long time, and that just seems to be the go-to color from my end, rigged with like an 1/8-ounce jig head. And with the calmer conditions, you also might want to get your mirror lure out, favorite one out there. Top Dog Junior or She Dog's been working really good. You got a picture of a beautiful trout here, 29 3/4 inch, a guy caught and released on a fly. He was up there in the line cut working those edges there.
Nice. All right. What else you got for us, Chad?
And then moving on to redfish, like I said, they've been kind of scattered, but there's some up in the flats. We've been zooming around, looking and traveling 30, 40, 50 miles looking for them, but they're starting to spotty show up there also along the west shorelines. King Ranch out of Port Mansfield also. Wade fishing definitely is best, producing this. Throw some mirror lure topwaters early. Also try the saltwater assassin, but switch over to a paddle tail if you're looking into the redfish. Keeps it a little bit more movement in there. Looks for wakes pushing. If it's calm out, look for wakes pushing, bait flipping, mullet moving. And that bait's always going to kind of start out up shallow in the mornings, and then they start dropping off as the day goes on. So start up shallow or early if you're looking for those redfish, and then move on out. Later in the day, they'll move back out to that 3-4 foot of water. And up on the west shorelines, there's also been some few big reds popping in now there. Seen a couple of really big, oversized ones. That's what you're looking for. Live bait on that's working really good. Or fresh cut mullet on the bottom. Got a picture of Connor Reynolds with Reynolds Fishing Company here. He was wading that west shoreline and popped a big, oversized red there that released.
Man,
beautiful.
Did you say Reynolds Fishing Company?
Yeah, yes.
We need to get him as a sponsor. Get on it. Get on it.
They're good guys. They've been fishing all over. So moving on to offshore. Offshore is starting to really pick up on the reef fish and the pelagic, such as like wahoo, dorado, and some tuna are showing up. Looking forward to soon here. July 15th is going to open up, and the deeper shrimp boats will be popping up, so you'll get a lot more consistent action with them. Those tuna will start following them up, so I'll keep you posted when they start moving and what's going to be happening out there. Starting again with the snappers, both great federal and state waters. Remains on fire. There's 4 per person in the state, 2 per person in federal. The water conditions really improving. Blue water is getting a lot closer. So use your Garmin GPS to get you straight to the spot, which that thing's accurate as heck. But to take advantage of the equipment, look at your Garmin on the sonar, suspended fish, or if they're holding real tight to the bottom, definitely make your drift and have your tracking on so you can just repeat that where the fish are holding that. And then you'll see those fish right middle through there, so just repeat that in there. Use about a 1 to 3 ounce Eagle Claw, the Trocar hook on there with a jig, makes it great. That makes it excellent for the suspended fish. been using an 80 to 130 pound Momoy fluorocarbon leader, about 36 inch for a shock leader to cut, if they have sharp gill plates and have them pop off. But got out of Port Mansfield here, got a good picture of Captain Charlie Buchan, does a lot of bay fishing. He does some offshore there, and he's got a picture of a beautiful federal snapper there.
Nice. Wow. All right, one more to go.
Moving in some wahoo action, which I love wahoo fishing, but they're still not big numbers, but some good fish, great eating. Diamond makes a great shock leaders for these things. If you guys look through it, they got like a 300-pound shock leader, which I like using. It's already pre-rigged, ready to go. And then if you want to get down deeper and use some of their trolling weights, which they make, it'll help you get to higher speeds or work in the wrecks. Anything you got, get down deeper. Some of those bigger fish, sometimes they hit that thermocline there. And then try this for different approaches. Like I said, add that trolling weight. We can add an islander rig with a ballyhoo with it, and you'll get some really different stuff there and some probably bigger wahoo. So we've got a picture here of Leroy Gonzalez and Travis Flanagan with the big wahoo, and Travis is the general manager of Shallow Sport Boats. Wow.
All right, Chad, I got a question for you. This time of year, you got all kinds of things to go fishing for. What's your favorite to fish for this time of year, bub?
It's coming right now is wahoo and yellowfin tuna. So I'm getting the itch for a window. So that's what I love doing, and deep dropping for grouper.
You're looking for some booty slick days, man.
You got that right.
All right. Well, hopefully they come in your near future, because booty slick days are the best, right, Brie?
Yes, absolutely.
She said she doesn't even know what to say. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Shallow Sport Boats hotspots from the lower coast region. He said that inshore, Ports Mansfield to the land cut has been excellent for trout fishing, with a few redfish starting to show up on the flats. And then offshore, snapper bite is on fire. And out deeper, some of the good wahoo are being caught.
On booty slick days.
On booty slick days,
right.
Of course.
Just wanted to say that one more time.
That's a new Rick Murphy.
Okay, I don't think that's new. That's an old one for you.
No, you had never heard that before. No booty sleep.
No, I haven't. All right, we're reeling in our last captain in the lower fresh region next. But first, we're seeing what kind of new product swag Dave has for us at the workbench.
Booty slick.
Show me the booty slick goods, Dave.
It never gets too booty slick to scare me. I'll tell you that.
Me neither, Dave.
We're going to be talking about some wahoo stuff on here.
Perfect.
Chad was talking about catching some wahoo. We got some nice wahoo baits on here for new products.
Looks good to me. We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miralure. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. And Startron. Cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
At the pinnacle of super high output, 4-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO. Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of 4-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
The only reel with over 100 years of heritage. Alvi reels are manufactured using the most reliable components. Alvi's state-of-the-art drag and retrieve rates are perfect for any fishing challenge. So whether it's a side cast or spinning reel, Alvi makes a reel that best fits your needs. Alvi reels are manufactured to best practice standards and are in fact so robust that the Alvi also comes with up to a 10-year salt and sand warranty. For more information, go to alvius.com.
Well, we're here at the workbench, and it's time for some new products. And
Yes,
one
sir.
guy can only handle that, and that'd be you, Dave.
Oh, well, you're here all the time, too. Next, we got the Starbright up there. That's not even next. It's first. Starbright is the ultimate mildew stain remover. It's perfect for fighting through tough mildew stains. It works on just about any fabric or painted surface, fiberglass it works on. You just spray a little bit on, lightly scrub it. Usually, as soon as you spray it on the mildew, it disappears. Yeah, but if you have to, you might have to scrub if it's a bad situation. Scrub it just a little bit and then rinse it off. It's good for your house, your bathroom, your RV, and obviously your boats and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. And we get that mildew in those hatches.
Or down below or any place.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out of there, and it just makes everything smell and old, and it's probably not healthy for you. So, go to starbright.com and get yourself some ultimate mildew stain remover.
All right.
Next, we got some Amoy Diamond Presentation Fluorocarbon Leader. You can't really beat 100% fluorocarbon. It's got almost the exact same refraction as water, so it's almost virtually invisible in the water. And a little pink shade, the deeper it gets, the more even it disappears. So it only comes in pink and clear, and it comes in from 10-pound test to 180-pound test, 13 different strengths, from 25-yard spools from little like that one there, and all the way up to 1,000-yard spools if you're wanting a whole lot of fluorocarbon. But you can go to diamondfishing.com and use some of that. It sinks really well. It doesn't absorb water like monofilament, and it's got a really good abrasion resistance for a fluorocarbon. That Diamond does. You can't beat it. Diamondfishing.com to get that. All right, next we got an Alvi Orbiter. We see our commercials about the Alvi reels. They've got over 100 years of making reels, but these are their new spinning reels. And this is the Orbiter 200, and they're just really well made. When you pick them up, you can feel it, that this is a good spinning reel. They got a 5.8 to 1 gear ratio. They got 9+1 stainless steel ball bearings. They got that great big aluminum knob on there for really good control once you get hooked up. A big thick bail, which is very important to me because I treat my stuff like crap, and that a good thick bail always helps. They hold 22 pounds of drag, that reel. So and most of the rods you're not going to have. The thing will spin, won't it? Most of the people you have aren't going to be able to hold 22 pounds for very long. It's got a carbon disc drag in there, 2-year limited warranty. They have an all aluminum body, and that's a carbon reinforced rotor around the outside. It's very light. CNC brass pinions inside, and a heavy-duty stainless steel shaft, so you don't have to worry about it bending and kinking over like, you put a heavy drag on some of them, and that's what they'll do. Not that one.
AlviUS.com.
AlviUS.com.
All right.
Get you a new spinning reel. They're really nice and very well priced as well.
Chad was talking about Wahoos.
Yeah, man, and these are made by R&R Tackle. Old Ray Rocher, he's caught a lot of wahoo in his day, and he knows how to make a rig for them. That's I think that one's got a 9/0 or a 10/0 mustad in it. 400-pound cable. They come in 7 different colors, 3 different sizes, from a 6.5-inch version all the way up to a 13-inch. They got a little 9-inch in the middle, and they weigh 3 ounces, 5 ounces, and 7 ounces respectively. You can control the bigger one by itself at high speed, or you can use it in combination with a trolling sinker.
With a trolling weight.
Yeah, trolling weight. And, they got the really good strong hook and the spacer beads, a nice outside skirt of hair or mylar. You can also get some with the rubber skirts on them as well.
Look at how cool the packaging is.
Yeah, it's very
so
nice.
that your doesn't get kinked up.
Correct.
Ray puts it in the tube, so nice and pretty, but at the same time, now you have the ability to not have your wire kinked.
You can pull that thing out of there, take those crimps off, those zip ties, and put it in the water.
It's ready to go.
Yep.
Good job,
Yep.
R&R Tackle.
Yep, Ray's a good man.
All right, Brie, we got another place to go, another place to land, so where would we be going?
Another place to fish. All right, let's head into the lower fresh region where Lake Travis, Austin, Bastrop, Somerville, Fayette, Amistad, and Falcon are all producing some awesome catches. So Matt, fish us into the weekend.
All right, let's get this thing started. I'm going to kick off largemouth bass in the Austin area. Brian Cotter with Texas Hog sends me the reports from that zone. Lake Travis, he says, continues to pump out fish.
With the hotter weather returning, you can expect the schooling action to pick back up in the marinas and the deep coves. But right now, you fish shallow early with a walking style topwater, right on the steep banks, and it's getting quite a few bites like that. Also, when it gets a little brighter, switch to a soft plastic stick bait, and catch some more of those shallow fish. Later in the day, he's catching his bigger fish in that 20 to 35 feet of water, throwing a football jig or a drop shot. Another thing to keep an eye out for, if you find any running water like a broken intake pipe or anything like that, this hot weather, you're going to have fish concentrated around it. Moving on to Lake Austin, it's producing a few nice fish. Deep crankbait it's been the best ticket there around the deep docks and brush piles, and really any type of cover you can find since there's not any hydrilla left. I caught an 11-pound bass in there this week. That's just an awesome fish anywhere. Moving to Lake Bastrop, it's been producing a lot of fish. The size has been down a little bit, but the numbers have been great. They're schooling in a lot of areas. When you see them, you throw a small topwater, small swim bait, or jig and spoon. You can also throw a light-weighted hook with a Ned rig and let it get all the way to the bottom, and that's the way they've been picking up a few of the nicer fish. Greg Boyk with Anglers Angle Guide Service sent me a report on Somerville and Fayette County. Somerville's been good for the last week. We're catching the best fish on a lipless crankbait and square bills along the rocky shorelines, especially the ones that have the shad on them. Overcast days have been the best because those fish are up there on the shore. Fayette County still kicking out fish on the main lake. They're holding on old road beds, drop-offs, and any type of steep ridges out on the main lake. Throw you a deep crankbait, a Carolina rig with a stick bait on it, either in green pumpkin or red bug. That's been working real well. And a way to catch that extra big fish, not going to get that many bites, but you might catch a big girl, is on a big 10-inch Texas rig, red bug or June bug worm. Rick Harris has sent me a report from Lake Amistad. Top water's been real good in the mornings over the grass and around the edges. If it stays cloudy, don't be afraid to throw that top water all day long, especially around the brim beds. Those, the brim spawn around the full moons in the summer, and those bass really concentrate on eating those. Also catching fish on the outside edge on a Texas rig and a swim bait in that 6 to 9 foot range. He's also noticing some new hydrilla starting to grow in that 12 to 18 foot range. Catching a lot of fish around it, deep cranking, or throwing a big Texas rig worm. Moving on down to Falcon, to my part of the world. Bite's been really good. Concentrate on the rock structure. On Upper Lake, you can throw a square bill on the shallow rock. At mid to lower lake, find those rock humps and ledges in 12 to 20 foot. Deep crankbait, football, jig, caught some big ones on a swim bait. Those have been your best weapons. Also, you want to concentrate on the man-made brush piles off those drops. Throwing a big Texas rig worm. Caught a lot of big ones doing that lately. Got a picture of one of my customers with a big old Falcon Special. That's all. I always love to see them smile.
Me too, bub. Tell me about the white bass and the hybrids.
All right. Greg Boyd sent me a report from the Somerville area. The white bass and hybrids have been biting really well there. They're concentrated on shad. They're not very deep right now. They're on the shallow points in that 5 to 10 foot range. Get you a lipless crankbait or a sassy shad type grub and silver or chartreuse. Covering a lot of water that way and just been absolutely crushing the white bass and the occasional bigger hybrid mixed in with them. That's what's going on in Somerville for those. Got a picture there of a handful of big old hybrids that one of his customers caught.
Nice, Matt. I got a question for you. The first question I have, Matt, is, how do you know when to put that top water down versus to fish it all day? That was part of your report.
Yeah, the fish will tell you. If you go 20, 30 minutes without a bite and it started to get bright, go ahead and put it down and pick up the soft plastics. But, usually if you've got some cloud cover or a little chop on the water or wind, you can extend that top water bite another hour or so. But really just listen to the fish. If you don't get bit in 20 or 30 minutes and and it's starting to get bright, put it down and pick the soft plastic up and get ready for the rest of your summer day.
All right, Bud, thank you. Some really good advice. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower fresh hotspots. From the lower fresh region, he says, Fayette County Lake, the bass are biting well. Concentrate on the main lake points and the drops with big crankbaits and Carolina rigs to load the boat. There are also some big ones being caught on large Texas-rigged ribbon-tailed worms.
I never like to put the top water down, ever.
I don't
It's
either.
just so mesmerizing and like relaxing, and when you get the bite, it's like, whoa, okay, I'm awake.
The biggest
now.
ones
You
I've
know?
ever caught on were afternoon on a topwater plug.
So, Dave, what's your favorite topwater plug?
The chug bug.
A chug bug.
I like a chug bug, yeah.
And you like it for saltwater and freshwater?
Yep, it's smaller and creates a big splash, but it's because of the low profile, they can really get their mouth around it and
Any
swallow it,
specific
go down.
Color?
Tennessee shad.
I knew it.
Bleeding Tennessee shad. Yep, it's called bleeding Tennessee shad.
Well,
Bleeding
Bree,
Tennessee
we're getting
shad.
ready to go on vacation.
We
We've
are.
got 4 days. All of us are going to go scalloping
Yes.
in the Panhandle region
To see
of
Murphy in the
Florida.
water.
Florida.
Yep, man.
He's gonna
My
get in the
little
water.
flippers. I got some pink flippers.
Yeah?
I bet you do. That attracts sharks. Just kidding. You would know.
That
All right,
is.
guys,
That's
thanks
a
for
shark's
tuning in.
favorite color.
Go out there and
It's
catch
pink.
big fish. Send us your photos, and we'll see you next
Guys,
week.
later.
Bye.